So, in recent news, there has been reports that Body Shop, which was a staple of the high street in the UK in the 80s and the 90s, is going into liquidation. They're closing shops. And this is a classic story of what happens on several fronts when you forget who you are. And I'm going to read an article about this that was from the Daily Mail uh, in the September the 23rd, 23. And it says, beauty brand UK boss says shops will reflect non-gender specific range. Body Shop has removed the men's section in its shops to make them more gender neutral, according to its boss. The beauty brand's UK managing director, Maddie Smith, said workers complained about having a separate area for men's products. Ms. Smith added, our team said we don't like the men's bay because we feel it is too segmented and we would much rather welcome everyone and say everything is for everyone. She said that getting rid of the dedicated section could save the firm money, by freeing up more space in its shops, adding, our products are non-gender specific. With some of our fragrances, different people have different tastes, but all of our skincare and body care can be used by anybody. So, and then they were quick to add, however, the group still sells items labeled as for men, including shaving products. The Body Shop has always traded on its ethical credentials and put more emphasis on boosting shoppers' self-esteem. It renamed its Drops of Youth line Edelweiss in a bid to fight ageism, for instance. The brand has just been put up for sale by Brazilian group Natura, which it bought it from L'Oreal in 2017 for 880 million. So, in other words, it's imploding. But, and here's the thing, one of the things about Body Shop, which was founded by Anita Roddick and I believe her husband, Anita Roddick was definitely the face of Body Shop and is regarded as the founder. What she did was brought to the high street for the first time, at least across the country and the nation of the UK, and it is a global brand, Body Shop, is it was ethical, it was organic, and it was fair trade. She raised the profile of inequality in terms of trade. She raised the benefits of organic. She was anti-chemical. She was anti the industrial. She was all about locally sourced. She was all about innovation and how you could bring that to the high street. That was her brand. And sadly, when they sold the company, but also when she died in 2007, I think they sold the company earlier than that. One of the things that Anita is credited for, but not acknowledged, and when I say not acknowledged, is people that knew her, people that have talked about her, and even now, and when I read up on this, people credited her for her energy, her passion, her innovation, right? And literally, that was the cornerstone and the foundation and the identity of Body Shop as a brand. And when she died, there was nobody to follow that on. And this often happens to a lot of businesses, especially when they become big and small, but when they implode, get bought out, etc., etc. Is the person that created the brand, the founder behind it, was the one with the energy, the one with the passion, and the one with the innovation. Because they were trying to achieve something, to educate, to raise awareness. And when it becomes too corporate, you literally get employees, the workers, complaining that we don't like men's products on the shelf because they're not inclusive. Well, where are men supposed to get their products from if they're not buying them from you? The shop itself had lost its identity, forgotten its roots and where it come from. And you have to evolve, you have to move. And this isn't about the gender neutral bollocks. It's just an example of how Once upon a time, that would have never taken place on the shop floor. It would have just been about the quality of the product. It would have been about how the product was sourced, how the product benefited the environment it came from, how the product brought life to the community that it came from, and what they were doing as a brand in these communities. Whereas now they're talking about shop floor spaces and how we want to be more inclusive. It was already the most inclusive shop on the high street. It's literally, its raw credentials are: we are not a mass corporate capitalist behemoth that just takes up every resource possible. We actually make sure that we trade fairly with our suppliers. We make sure we create products that can be recycled, reproduced. We're not parasite that just steals the life out of a community until there's nothing left and then discard it. Quite the opposite. Whenever we engage with a community to build a product, we make sure that we continue to develop that community so that they can become self-sustaining and develop their own profit structure. It was one of the things that Anita Roddick was known for and why she was so popular, because it came from her passion, because she genuinely believed it. And obviously, there are other companies now, big companies and small independents that followed that model. And one of the things that you can credit Body Shop with is, once upon a time, there was no such thing as an organic moisturizer, an ethically sourced moisturizer, you know, a fair trade moisturizer. There was none of that. But now, organic, ethically sourced fair trade is a label that's on everything from the cheapest supermarket to my local farmer's market. And that is by and large because of Anita Roddick and Body Shop. And that's the very thing that Body Shop should have continued to trade on. They were the first. They were the original. They are the legacy, the legend, the brand. But instead, they tried getting into spaces that nobody asked them to get involved in and that nobody wanted. And you can argue that people do want it, but then why aren't those people going through the shop doors? Why are people not buying their brands? Why is it no longer the go-to place for gifts, presents, Christmas, anniversaries? Because they lost their brand. They gave up on who they actually were. Warren Buffett famously talks about products that have a moat, and he was referring to a chocolate brand that he once owned, and that people bought these chocolates because it invoked a memory, and it had a sense of, because of that, people had a sense of loyalty. And that loyalty was that they would buy these chocolates for anniversaries, wedding presents, anniversaries, birthdays, just to cheer their other half. It was maybe the box. It was a bit exclusive, a bit luxury, the box that they bought their partner on a first date or their first anniversary. And as such, it puts a moat around them that protects them, because people will always do that. And I used to do this myself with a local chocolate shop that used to make handmade chocolates in Salisbury, where I'm from. Um, it sadly closed down. But I used to go there all the time to buy chocolates for people for their birthday special occasions, because whoever buys themselves handmade chocolates? No one. And it was a great gift that was always well received, and a fantastic, thoughtful gift for under £10. And it was always well received. Everybody bloody loved it. And sadly, the shop couldn't compete with all the other shops that came along in that area. And I think, if I remember correctly, locally there were some other issues with the owners that had nothing to do with that. Should be on their control. But going back to Body Shop, this is a classic example of how badly people get their marketing wrong and how people destroy their own brand. And you do it by trying to be somebody you're not. Don't try to compete with the people that are copying you. Remember, you already are on the pedestal, and market forces will always change. As soon as you do anything well, anything better than somebody else, others will follow and copy you. That's the way it works. You're never going to avoid that, and you shouldn't try to compete with it. What you should do is focus on what put you there and talk about your integrity. Talk about how everyone else is copying you. Talk about how you did it first, how you are the original and the only one that can claim that. And I, for one, although have not used Body Shop for many years for those very reasons I've mentioned, will be sorry to see the way it's gone. It was once a top quality product that was desired by people, and people were genuinely pleased when they seen it as a present, as a gift. And people loved having their products. And they didn't lose out to better competition. They lost out because they forgot that they were the competition. And if you are one of those people that work there, I'm sorry if you're losing your job. But let this be an example to all the big brands. Never forget who you are.